Our Surgeon General last year put out an entire study, 70 pages. I read it. It's really fascinating. Vivek Murthy, and he published Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation. And it showed that in America today, first time ever, that 1/4 of all adults now live alone. In addition to that, it traced a number of factors of how people live their life. And so between 2003 to 2019, so they traced during these years, right, how people interacted. And what it said is, through the progress of those years into 2019, is that time alone increased 24 hours a month, meaning not spending physical time, personal time with another human being. Time with family, that's physical time, like we're together, like physically. Time with family decreased 5 hours a month, and time with friends decreased 20 hours a month. And what's interesting is it says that the sharpest decline for those who were experiencing less hours with friends were actually people ages 15 to 24. So you think, well, what are people doing with their expendable time, their free time? Like we all have certain things we have to do. We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to work, and that takes our school, and so that takes up a whole bunch of time. But then there's all this extra time where all of this stuff used to happen. And so they started looking and said, well, a lot of people are spending a whole lot of time on their phone. That's what they're doing alone. So in 2023, this is the national averages right now. As American adults, we use the phone 6 to 7 hours a day. Not have it on our person, but actually have it on and looking at it. 6 to 7 hours a day on average. Adults use social media 2.4 hours a day. Teenagers use it 4.8 hours a day. And notice this, those using social media 2 or more hours a day are twice as likely to report chronic loneliness. Now, what's fascinating about this, it's really amazing, is for some of us we think, well, okay, no more social media. What's interesting is there was no difference statistically in terms of chronic loneliness for those who didn't use it at all and those who used it all the way up to an hour and a half. Meaning that it's not evil in and of itself with brackets, and it doesn't have to rule our life. But what's interesting is this was one of the contributing influences. And what's interesting is chronic loneliness, what they then do, there's a whole section in his report, that it shows that it's not without effect, that it has enormous impact, not only upon the soul of a human being, but also the soul of society. It says there that chronic loneliness leads to increased risk of heart disease, obesity, stroke, self-harm, depression, dementia, and anxiety. And as sociologists around the world scrambled to suggest ways to promote more social interaction, it's interesting that England went as far. Their prime minister in 2018, I believe, Theresa May, actually appointed the very first minister of loneliness as a government position held by Tracy Crouch in order to help people in England to be able to wrestle with the impact of loneliness. So the question that I would have, what this series is really all about, is would God have anything to say to us about how we got here and how to be able to flourish in life a little bit more than we currently do?